and good evening to all of you. Good evening and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh, and in this video, we shall discuss the current affairs and daily Gazette for 23rd November 2021, that is today. I would like to wish good evening to Azim. Good evening to you. Hello Amlan. Hi Sam. Good evening. Good evening Bhabani. Hello Kriti. Hi Preeti. Hello Digvijay. Hi Sangeeta. We have just begun. The time that we begin is ideally 6 o'clock, and we have just begun. Good evening to all of you. Good evening. So let's quickly begin the current affairs and Gazette discussion for today. All right. So here we go. Before that, just quickly let me know, are you guys into notes making or not? I know that some of you are, but some of you are still in the process of watching the videos online, gaining knowledge, but not being able to revise that. If you're not able to revise that, you will not be able to reproduce that. So my main contention is that you should be able to prepare notes, right? Watching any video that is for UPSC examination requires that you people also prepare notes, right? All right. Good evening, Hari Om. Good evening, Anonymous. Welcome back after a long time. Hi, Aisha. Good evening to you. All right. So what has been in the newspapers and reports today? Let's understand that. So today the hot selling articles in the market are: 1. JPC, Joint Parliamentary Committee recommendations on the draft Personal Data Protection Bill 2019. There was a lot of hue and cry about what kind of Personal Data Protection Act India is going to create. And for that, in 2019, the Parliament had constituted a joint parliamentary committee. It has submitted its report, and this report will be further scrutinized by the executive, that is Union Executive, and then the Parliament itself, and then it will be presented if it has to be passed or not. So we will understand what has this joint parliamentary committee now come up with, right? What are the recommendations of this committee? The second one, the second snapshot is on growing space junk. Remember, if we had spoken about ASAT test conducted by Russia, anti-satellite test. So this is on growing space junk. Space junk also has been declared as one of the pollution, and therefore we will understand what this article is about. And the third one is on an SBI report on agricultural reforms. What are the important recommendations that this report talks about? We will understand. Now see, the significance of a report like this is very simple. If they are presenting 5 key points of recommendations, you will be able to put them in an answer and frame. And put it as a complete answer. So this is how these reports can be completely significant. This report per se will not be asked, but the recommendations become very important for you. Okay. All right. This day in history is dedicated to Cocos Island, an island gifted by UK to Australia. Featured news for today is on Ecological Threat Report 2021. Right? So in this report, what has been mentioned is what are the different ways in which the whole world, especially human world, is facing the crisis. The crisis because of 2 factors, one natural factors and the other one which are more related to anthropogenic factors. So 5 important threats have been mentioned here, and this report also talks about resilience of the world, which is decreasing with time. We will understand the details of this report and also frame a question and try to answer this in the featured news, to be live at 6:45 p.m. today, all right, in a different video. Image of the day is on cosmic reef, something related to universe. We will understand about this nebula there. Then we have 4 terms and concepts for today. Tight oil, subs, very much in news these days, related to India's culture. The third one is INS Vishakhapatnam, and the fourth is UNESCO Executive Board, of which India is a member now. Now, editorials of the day, very interesting and important editorials for today. The first one is on the fertilizer sector in our country. Now see, as and when the farmer crisis has come up, now we are looking at important reforms in the farm sector. One of the important reforms is related to fertilizer industry. We will look into that. The second one is about insurance, farm insurance. So one of the editorials that we have covered is on farm insurance. These are the reforms that are required, because of which the farmers will feel more secure while being a farmer, while being productively engaged in the activity of farming. Instead of asking for only MSPs, these are the kind of reforms that we should be looking into. And the third one is on World Trade Organization. What is going to happen in the ministerial meeting that is going to be held very soon? We will understand about the world politics here. And The case study of the day is on a person, Otto Raja, as popularly called as, and we will understand what wonderful act he has done, even after going through a jail term. All right. So very inspiring case of him. All right. Shall we begin, guys? Let's begin. All right. So the first snapshot today is on the Joint Parliamentary Committee recommendations on draft personal data protection bill. This bill was presented in the parliament by the government, but it was not accepted by various members, and therefore such kind of bills which are important and which need a wider consultation amongst the parliament members, it is sent to Joint Parliamentary Committee. There are two types of parliamentary committees. One are the permanent committees, which are maybe in a period of 1 year the members will keep rotating, but these are permanent committees. And the second one are ad hoc committees. Ad hoc, that means they're formed for a time, and after that they get absolved. Joint Parliamentary Committee is that kind of ad hoc committee which is formed for a specific purpose and then later absolved. All right. So this committee was formed in which all the members who were part of this committee, they discussed, members from both the houses, they discussed what should be the Personal Data Protection Act in India like. How should we try to protect the data in India? And they have presented some recommendations. We will understand what these recommendations are. And there have also been criticism of the parliamentary report itself. Let us quickly understand what these recommendations are. All right. So first of all, we are trying to protect the individual and their sensitive data, right? So personal data of the individual and their data like financial data, health data, anything that relates to them and they don't want to be revealed in public domain, that has been tried to institutionalize. The protection is what is important here, right? So Data Protection Authority, this is the authority which has to be established, which will protect the personal data of the individual. Now, let me ask you a question. When a Data Protection Authority gets formed, should it be under the central government or should it be away from the central government? Suppose this is the central government. Should central government be different from Data Protection Authority or not? This is an important question. It has to be. The answer here is it needs to be different from the central government, because if it is placed under the central government, then center will have a complete purview on the jurisdiction of Data Protection Authority. It can take any amount of data from the Data Protection Authority and it invades the privacy of individuals. So Data Protection Authority has to be different from the center. They have to be different bodies completely altogether. And this is how we are going to protect the data of the individual, and their privacy against the state and against international, organizations as well, right? So there has also been a conversation of localization of data. Right now, we have got data centers, which are the repository of data, which have been located abroad, right? In countries, advanced countries. And we want to localize the upkeep of that kind of data. Suppose if we are functional on Facebook, Twitter, all these organizations. Now, if they have data centers abroad, whatever we are talking, all this data gets saved in a country abroad, and they have different rules. We may not even be able to retrieve that data, even if required for national security purposes. Government has tried that, and they have faced issues while retrieving Facebook data. So one of the things that government came up with was localization of these kind of data and data centers. Yeah. So there have been allegations against the government by private agencies, by the countries abroad, and by the corporates abroad, saying that if you localize the data, you might even decrease the competition in the country. If we are localizing the data, and in India, there are only few players who can keep the data safe. Only few. You are localizing the data, and Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Apple, they won't be able to participate in our country, right? In keeping the data here. So you are decreasing the competition in our country. This is one of the allegations. So this is one. The other thing is that even if you are keeping the data with Data Protection Authority, right, and you are encrypting the data, right, it is very much possible that the data here is safe against the government, but the encryption technology is available with the government, so the data is again not safe. So this is one of the concerns again. So one concern is encryption key, right, being accessible to the government. It's mere a possibility. It is not determined. It's a possibility. The second one is the participation of the corporates abroad, and they're saying that this is against competition if you're localizing the data. The third one is exemptions given to the government. Exemptions given to the government. The government can retrieve all this data in the garb of national security, friendly relations with neighbors, public order, sovereignty. So in this case, then government will be able to exploit all the data for its own purposes, right? Just like it is doing with case of Pegasus. So these are the criticism of this report, right? So this is it. But yeah, some important key points about this news are: one, so we have understood the criticism, but we also would like to know what are the points, important pointers which have been discussed as recommendations for this bill, right? So the social media agencies will no longer be treated as intermediaries. If I am posting some data on Facebook, Facebook is also held accountable. It will not be treated as intermediary. They will have to report and flag any kind of breach of non-personal data also, right? This is one. So this is one. The second one is if a company abroad is working with Indians for data retrieval, for data management, financial data, social media, anything, they will have to have one office in India as well, right? So this is another part of it. Then if there are cross-border payments being made, then they will have to have an indigenous financial system for cross-border payments, right? So they will have to have one system based in India as well, okay? Fourth is the certification of digital devices. Now, if you remember, India had passed a law, a policy, which said that we might not be purchasing those kind of equipments which are originating in China, just in the lieu of data protection, so that we want to protect our data. So we will be certifying all the digital devices which are being used in our country, so that there is no provision of institutional level of data compromising, right? So these are some important provisions of this data protection bill. All right. So all right. So moving on to the next snapshot, next important update for today, that is on growing space junk. In fact, junk has been treated as a pollution source around the world, right? We have not only polluted the earth, we have also polluted the space. And to the level that just like we have Saturn rings around Saturn, we might have a ring around Earth. We might actually have a ring around the Earth, but this ring will be of these polluting bodies. What are these bodies? They may be meteoroid. They may be those small junk particles of our satellites, of the tests that we have conducted, artificial objects, defunct satellites, and these are moving at a very, very high speed, even far more than the speed of a bullet. We might have more than, this is an estimation by European Space Agency, we might have more than 5,000 bodies which are more than 1 meter long. So 1 meter would ideally be this long, more than my arm, right? Moving at a very high pace, and they can actually sever many of our space works. So what is responsible for it? Natural causes and man-made causes as well. Natural causes, for example, the presence of meteoroid, and artificial causes like ASAT test. At least we should curb down these kind of tests. But if you remember, we had spoken about a certain lacunae in the kind of outer space treaty that we have. We do not have a provision in which ASAT test cannot be conducted, right? So that is the reason that countries are still moving ahead with ASAT test. USA has that technology, Russia has it, China has it, India also has it, right? All right. Although, very interesting to know, just like Earth is a cleanser in the atmosphere, in the ecosystem, Earth is also a cleanser in the marine ecosystems. Earth is also a natural cleanser in the space ecosystem. So since Earth has got a gravity around itself, Earth tries to pull the body closer to the Earth, and as the body passes through the atmosphere, it burns. It burns because it is passing through the atmosphere at high speed, and the atmosphere has small particles. It is trying to pervade, it is trying to penetrate through, and because of which heat is generated, and then the body burns. But this burning up is also not happening properly. In fact, this natural cleansing process is getting impeded because of levels of pollution in the Earth. What is the intricacy, that I am not sure of it, but because of increased presence of carbon dioxide, the article says near the earth layers, this natural cleansing process is not happening efficiently, right? So what is the exact reason? This, as of now, I am not aware. If I get to know, I will get back. All right. So this is one, but one artificial mechanism can be used to ensure that these space debris can be brought to earth. What is that? Using magnets. So using magnets, we can ensure that they can be brought back, but right now it is not the most viable procedure, right? So space junk has been declared as a type of pollution, right? So whenever we speak of space pollution, space junk is one aspect of it, right? And this is in context of Russia's ASAT mission. All right, this is snapshot 2. All right. Sam asks, is there a chance of collision? Have you seen movies like Gravity? If you have, you would see that if we are conducting many space maneuvers, there is a possibility of collision in that way also. And if you remember, we had studied one of the, in one of the news articles, one of the updates just 3 days back, that India had conducted a maneuver in its Chandrayaan-2 mission, where the artificial amount of energy that was used for India's satellite to maneuver away from one of the satellites of NASA. Do you remember that? If you remember, then yes, you may want to agree that it is possible that it might lead to some space mishap. And that is why we are calling it a debris, no? That is why we are calling it pollution. Okay. See, why satellites, why these astronauts, cosmonauts can avoid this kind of collision is because they have got energy. But in case the body is present, both the bodies are present, and no maneuvering is possible, it might lead to collision as well. All right. Snapshot 3 is on SBI Eco-RAP report on agricultural reforms. All right. So a report like this, when you see agricultural reforms, why will this report want to produce only specific highlights? It will produce in totality whatever it thinks are the reforms, right? So when it says of 5 key reforms, let us look at those 5 key reforms, right? This will form a majority part of any reform in agriculture answer, right? Majority, not everything. There will be other components as well, but they feel these are the 5 most important things. First one they say is quantity guarantee clause instead of MSP, right? Very important, very important. When the agriculturalists, when the farmers are saying give us minimum support price, right? Give us a law which talks about minimum support price for the times to come. SBI report says that you give them quantity guarantee, that you will be procuring certain minimum quantity for the coming few years, coming 5 years. So you are not even guaranteeing MSP for all the times, but you are at least giving them the assurance that their quantity will be purchased. So this is a good one, good middle path, very good. The second one is convert MSP to floor price auction on ENAM. They mean to say here that whatever minimum support price that is being given by the government, right? Why do you have this? Instead of this, on National Agricultural Market Platform, online platform, declare a minimum support price, declare a floor price of the auction below which no prices will fall. But the issue here with this is that the prices are already very low floored, and the prices of MSP are always higher than this, right? So we will have to ensure that these prices are not, ultra low. This is important. The third recommendation it has is for the APMC, Agricultural Products Marketing Committee markets. So it says that the Agricultural Produce Marketing Committee's market should be strengthened in infrastructure, right? We also know there are certain issues with APMC, there is a cartelization formation here, and then elections are not conducted regularly, because of which, the farm collection is not done more efficiently. So the gradation of the farm products, for example, if you've got 5 type of rice products and it is a very good quality of rice, suppose if I'm a farmer, I have got a very good quality of rice, the gradation is not mechanized. Gradation is also done mechanically through individuals, and they might not rate the best variety of rice that I have as the best. They might rate it as poor variety, and I will be given less amount, right? And all the traders here will be doing the same. So these are the kind of issues that we have. But here, that issue that they're talking of is increasing the storage of APMC markets. increasing the storage infrastructure facilities, because there are also losses here as well. Then it also talks of contract farming institution. This is an alternate to the present system, where a predetermined contract will be there between two parties, seller and buyer. So who is the seller? The agricultural producer. And who is the buyer? Big companies, McDonald's, right? We might as well have KFC, right? Burger King. So they will have a contract for, say, 500 acres of land for potato production. So they will be giving the money in advance, they will be giving inputs, and they will also be assuring profits for the farmers. So this is what many farmers fear. If contract farming is given, they will be bound in the system. The profit margins may not be high. There are various fear that people have, but SBI report recommends this because this has seen some reasonable degree of success at some places. The fifth one is systematic and symmetric procurement. See, after Green Revolution 1, the procurement from those states which were a part of Green Revolution, that was very high. Punjab, Haryana, parts of Rajasthan, parts of Western Uttar Pradesh, parts of Telangana, wherever Green Revolution 1 happened. And procurement from those states where there was intensive and manual driven agriculture, that was low. Eastern UP, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, those states, right? So the idea is to tell that you do symmetric procurement from all the states. Proportional procurement. One good example of this is states like West Bengal and Uttar Pradesh. They produce good amount of rice, paddy, but procurement is very high in states like Punjab and Haryana, and not in these states, whereas production is highest in West Bengal and Uttar Pradesh. Imagine that. So these are the 5 recommendations. Now, if a question is asked to you about agricultural reforms, not only placed post-harvest issues also. We are talking about marketing abroad. We are talking about processing of the agricultural produce. We are also talking of inputs, switching to organic modes of cultivation, switching to another mode of cultivation that we discussed only yesterday. Remember that word? Anybody? What did we compare yesterday with? Organic, and there was a keyword that we discussed yesterday, a very good keyword that was. Anybody? We will come to that keyword as we discuss one of the editorials today. We spoke of permaculture, and yesterday 2 people had asked a very good question. What is the difference between permaculture and organic farming? We will talk about this. I have got some updates about it, and thank you for asking that question. Very important and very good conceptual question. So this is this day in history, which has been dedicated to Cocos Island. Britain gifted this island to Australia, and you can see this is right in between some of the Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries, and Australia, right? So Cocos Island here, and who are the people here living? So these people are largely those people who came to Cocos Island for agricultural plantation work, right? So people who belong to Southeastern countries, but under the jurisdiction of Australia. So you can well imagine the condition of these people, and what would their demand be? They would demand independence, right? So one country that I can imagine right now, which has gone through a similar thing, is Maldives. Many of the people residing here are Indians. And then you go to Central America, right? So you would find a huge number of Indians residing here. In fact, people still speak the Indian languages in those countries as well, Maldives and Central America. And although they are integrated well in the local population, but still they retain their culture very well. All right. So do remember Cocos Island. All right. All right, each of you, permaculture, absolutely. So we will understand some really good things about permaculture today. And thank you for asking this question. A couple of you had asked, I think Amlan and Ashish had reiterated this question. Shivam asks me a question. Why is it very hard to reform agriculture and take the confidence of farmers? See, in farming, this is a very big question in itself. It is more than a feature article. It can convert into micro course. The question that you are asking, why is it so difficult to reform the agricultural sector? See, agriculture is also, although you call it a sector, but there are different layers of agriculture and different components of agriculture. So let me just segregate very quickly whatever you have asked, right? What a big aspect of agriculture you are talking of. First of all, agriculture is divided into the people who are producers, and then people who are consumers, and then there are intermediaries, and then we have government, And then we also have private bodies, right? Private bodies or NGOs or farm producer organizations, right? And self-help groups. See, various participants. So whenever we talk about any sector, any question asked, you can divide it into various stakeholders. This is one way to look at agriculture sector. Now, interest of the producer is different from the interest of consumer. And it is very much possible that government might be acting in the interest of producer, government like MSP, and government might be acting in the interest of consumer as well. What are we talking of? We are talking of National Food Security Act, NFSA. So see the linkage. And we also have private agencies which are participating, and they have their own interest. So this is one reason there is, the contradictory interest of the varied parties. This is one reason that you can see, it is very tough to reform agriculture. Then another way you can look at it is agriculture constitutes of various communities who are participating. So there are large farmers, there are medium farmers, and there are small farmers. Now the interest of these farmers are completely different as compared to these farmers, right? In fact, many of the large farmers, they are non-existent. They have lent their farm bodies to somebody else, right? And they might have gone abroad. So absentee landlordism. And the people owning large farms, or their, the person who are representing them, they are also the influential people in APMC, Agricultural Producing Marketing Committee. So they have the marketing. Agricultural marketing has a different interest as compared to the actual producers. When we are talking of agricultural marketing, we are looking at it as middlemen, and it is very much possible that certain reformations for actual people, actual producers, they are not profitable for the middlemen. So see, these are the kind of interests that we are talking of, right? And then of course issues with privatization, all those issues are also there. Various stakeholders involved, and then there are populist measures. Very big editorial, very big topic in itself. And there is also one tendency of people to go with the inertia of increased water usage, inertia of ensuring that fine, if electricity is free of cost, let's use it, inertia of using excessive fertilizers. Yeah, so we will study about that. One by one. We will cover fertilizers today. We will also cover another aspect, that is insurance today. And we will see that people are not to be blamed completely. Governance also is partly playing that part. All right, featured news for today is on Ecological Threat Report 2021, right? So this report talks about the various kinds of ecological threat that humans are facing due to their issues, due to natural issues, and it also discusses a very beautiful concept of positive peace. If you have heard of this word, this is a very important keyword for you. You can use it at various places. Positive peace. So positive peace is the resilience of an institution, resilience of a country. And this resilience is getting decreased with time because of increased vulnerability. All right. So we will discuss these concepts, and we will also understand what are the recommendations of this report. Okay. This report will never be asked, but the content of report will be asked. Assured. Image of the day is on cosmic reef. All right. So what is this cosmic reef? This is in one of the quasi galaxies which is found just close to our Milky Way galaxy. Okay. So that this image that you see, these are nebulae. What is nebula? Nebula. So nebula is a body in space which is rotating at very high speed, and it has got clouds of gases and particles. So what you see here is nebula, and it has got cloud of gases and particles revolving and rotating at a very high speed. And slowly and steadily, they will come together because of gravitation, because of electrostatic equilibrium. They will also start to form a body because of nuclear reactions. They will also start to sparkle, and slowly and steadily, they might even produce some heat and light. They will become a star. They might as well become a star. So this is called as the nebular origin of any star, right? But the things that we are talking of, these are very big. These are not only star, there will be billions of stars inside this. And that is why this one is called as cosmic reef, right? So representing oceanic bodies. And this is not even the Milky Way. This is associated with Milky Way. This is a star forming region, a satellite galaxy of the Milky Way galaxy. All right. Very, very far from Earth. So Shivam says, need a feature article on agricultural reforms. All right, sure. There is a lot to cover in agriculture. Only components of it get covered, but yes, definitely. Sure, we will have it. All right. So, by the way, let me ask a feedback from you. Do you think that this conversation gets very serious or what? Does it get very serious when we talk? Because we talk very intense things. All right, terms and concepts. Today we are discussing one of the term as tight oil. What is tight oil? We are talking of the production of shale gas. Shale gas from the shales, from the impermeable shale and limestone rocks. You know, we are trying to find out the possibility of existence of gas there, and through technologies we are trying to extract this. And why is it in use? It is in use because we are exploring this in Western Rajasthan. There are good amount of shale gas reserves found in Western India, where during very old times, around 50 to 80 to 100 million years back, this whole western region where we find Rajasthan, it was inundated in water. It was below the water, and that is why there is a possibility of existence of petroleum reserves and shale reserves there. So we are now exploring them. Keynes Oil, right, the same Keynes company that was popular, Keynes Oil and Gas, has partnered with another US based company to explore these gases there, right? So one of the way to find out this gas, explore this gas at these places, is the process of fracturing. So through hydraulic fracturing, what we do is try to extract. So when these are rocks in which shale is found at places, if we fracture the rock, if we crack it, these shale gases come out of it. And that is how we are able to extract these gases, right? Through pressure driven techniques, through ensuring that water is also put in and there is increased pressure, these gases come out, right? So this is the process through which shale is extracted. All right. Russia and USA are the largest shale gas producers, right? Okay. The second one is Subs-Burj. What is Subs-Burj? Now, this is a monument which is very close to Humayun's tomb in Delhi. And it has recently been refurbished, the whole monument. Look at this. This is the kind of artwork that you find here. In fact, there are certain ingredients that were used to make this blue colored graphics here, right? So many of them came from Persia, Iran right now, and lapis lazuli was also used here in creation of these kind of texture. And this whole monument has been renewed. This is considered to be one of the earliest domes of its kind in India, one of the earliest domes of its kind. It has been restored to its glory, and that is why it has been in news in all the newspapers in the last 2-3 days, right? So it demonstrates Timurid architectural style, and the kind of blue tiles that you see, these are derived from that color, right? That color that I was speaking of, lapis lazuli, which is brought from Persia, right? All right. So the ceiling painting has real gold and lapis lazuli. This is what it says. All right. The third one is INS Vishakhapatnam. Makes me smile when Sam says that I'm full of energy. Thank you. Thank you. So are you guys, you know, very disciplined, and I commend your participation, right? I also want to start seeing how you prepare notes, because how you prepare notes is the key to how you revise them, and how you revise them makes it get retention is high in your mind, and then you are able to play with all the data that you have, right? So it will not only serve the immediate purpose of participating and knowing what is in news, it would also serve the purpose of writing the same in exam and scoring marks. So that is why I commend you in participation here. This discipline, it reflects a lot about each of us. Now, the third term in use is INS Vishakhapatnam, right? So this is a completely indigenous made guided missile destroyer. If you remember, we had spoken about destroyers, we had spoken about cruise, these all the 6 different kind of vehicles, right? So we had spoken about destroyer, we had spoken about the other ones. One of them was the aircraft carrier. We also discussed about frigates. We also discussed about the submarines. The main purpose of destroyer is not only to assist and protect the aircraft carrier. It also is used to destroy the incoming missiles, the incoming submarines. This is what it is used to. So it is also a ship to safeguard the trading vessels, the aircraft carriers, and also to consider offense against the incoming missiles. All right. So India has constructed this first destroyer by its own, and it has been now released in the Navy. And this can it can conduct offenses in nuclear, biological, and chemical capacities also. NBC, nuclear, biological, and chemical capacities as well. All right. So if it has to conduct, if this has to conduct an offensive, does it not need radar technologies? Yes, it will have radar technologies. If it has to conduct a defensive operation, should it not have shafting technology, shaft technology? If you remember, I had spoken about shaft technology. So it will have shaft technology. It will try to deflect the incoming missiles. It will have shaft technology also. If it has to conduct defensive operations, should it not have missiles of varied potential and varied distances? Yes, it will have that as well, right? So for operations which have to be conducted immediately around this naval warship, it will have machine guns. But if it has to go farther, it might have weaponry of the proportional magnitude, right? And all indigenous. The fourth term for today is UNESCO Executive Board. Now, UNESCO is known now, very much popular, because it is commanded by China these days, right? So China has been commanding many of the United Nations bodies. This becomes important because if China commands many of these bodies, the head of these bodies will be Chinese origin or people from China itself. And that is why many of the decisions taken by these organizations, WHO, UNICEF, many of the organizations, FN, Food and Agricultural Organization, ILO, many of them. So around 15 of these organizations have Chinese head or deputies. And India is one of the members now of UNESCO, right? So India can have some stakeholdership here. In fact, India also won an award just today. In today's PIB, I saw India has won an award, UNESCO award in Southeast Asia. It was conducted in Malaysia, and India has won an award here, Abu Award, right? One of the Abu Awards to Doordarshan, and one award to All India Radio also, right? So we will cover that in due time. Not a very, very important one, but yes. So this is a 4-year term for the member. There are 3 bodies in UNESCO. One is the Executive Board. The second one is the General Conference, and the third one is Secretariat. All right. Okay. 3 editorials that we discussed today are two on fertilizers and insurance in farm sector, and the third one relates to an article on World Trade Organization. So let's go to them very quickly. Okay. Now, the first one is on fertilizer sector. See, before getting into the article, I went to understand what is the usage of fertilizer in India and around the world. So when I went to this World Bank website, they have a complete data about fertilizer usage around the world, country-wise and proportionally the presence of data for the whole world. So when we see this graph is plotted, and this is the increase in the use of fertilizer per hectare, right? So kilograms per hectare. Now, these are the parameters. This is around 150 to 200. 150 to 200, and this is the average of the whole world right now, 150 plus. And this is from the time 1970s to till now. What is the reason that increase of fertilizer use has happened? It is only because of intensive agriculture practices, only because of input-based agriculture where we are using more chemicals, right? So you can very well see the increase in usage of chemical fertilizers. Now, India has a huge disparity in production and consumption of fertilizers. So there are states where we are using around 75 to 80 kilograms per hectare, and there are states where we are using 250 kilos also. So a state like Telangana, Andhra, they are using 250 kilos per hectare. Developed countries are also far no less, right? Some of them use huge amount of fertilizers, and some of them use less amount of fertilizers. In fact, if you will see this graph for the developing countries, some of the underdeveloped countries, the usage of fertilizer is very low. So they are still in the practice of permaculture. Okay. Let's understand permaculture. All right, let's discuss the article first, and then I'll tell you what is permaculture and organic cultivation, what is the difference between them. All right, so the editorial starts by saying that right from the time of economic reforms, there was a fertilizer sector also, it needed reforms, right? So and subsidy bill for this sector, subsidy sector for fertilizer also kept rising. So 1981 to 91, there was no change in fertilizer prices at all, in urea prices and all the other fertilizer prices. There was no change. So 1991, when the economy was liberalized, there was a sudden increase in price of all fertilizers up to as much as 40%. And after, populist demands, it was rolled back again. But it was not rolled back for all products. It was rolled back for urea. It was rolled back for urea specifically. So nitrogen based, it was rolled back. And you know why? Because these were the liberalizing times. If you see, the three important ingredients are NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Nitrogen, of which, nitrogen is one of the chief components of urea. So this, a decent amount is found in India. But phosphorus and potassium, they are largely imported till now, largely imported. We also have program to indigenize the phosphate, phosphate production, but they have been imported for the last 30 years. Now, point being here, they decreased the price on this, but the price on these were still high. Largely, one reason for it, because we were also importing this. When the price of this was decreased, then there'll be increased consumption of nitrogen-based fertilizer. We're talking of urea. And you know what it has resulted into? It has resulted into soil imbalance, soil proportion imbalance. So in 2020, later we had a nutrient-based subsidy for all fertilizers, but again urea was excluded. Urea got some special treatment again, and urea's prices, in fact, you will be surprised to know in the last 20 years, they have increased only 10 to 15 to 20%. But if you see the amount of MSP rise, minimum support price rise, that is far higher. That means proportionally farmers are getting more remuneration and they are paying far less as far as fertilizer is concerned. They are using urea to an increased level, and this is also causing huge deficit to the government, a huge deficit as much as 80,000 crore rupees in one budget year, 80,000 crore rupees. So this is where the government is saying, if we have to give this kind of subsidy, why not use the organic farming only? Why not give this kind of budget for organic farming rather than chemical farming? So this is one thing that it says. I have also told you the complete history. It was a part of this article, a huge article from The Hindu. So this is one. The second thing is, like, see, 70 kgs of usage of nitrogen of all the fertilizers in Rajasthan to 250 kilos in Telangana per hectare, right? 250. So there is a disparity in the usage per state. Not only that, if you see the optimal NPK mix, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium mix, that should be 4:2:1. This is very disproportionate in many states. So if you see Punjab, the ratio is 33:8:1. 33 of nitrogen. Such indiscriminate use of urea in some states. Punjab. And then Kerala, very, very good. So it is 1.3:1:1, almost that. This is in Kerala. So the idea is to increase the balanced use of fertilizers so that there is soil fertility retention. Right? So that is why we had introduced nutrient-based subsidy, but again, partially successful. Now, what has happened in these times? In COVID times, the prices of energy have increased. The prices of import have increased. There is cartelization of the containers happening. So when you want to bring in these potash and phosphorus from outside, from Central America, then is where you have to pay a lot of amount, right? So there was a lot of hue and cry in the country, and therefore government increased the subsidy rate for DAP, diammonium phosphate. This is the other, DAP is the second most used fertilizer, right, after urea. And then we also have muriate of potash. DAP, a good amount is imported. Muriate of potash, it is largely imported, and that is why import bill also rises. So when we talk of petroleum imports, we also talk of fertilizer imports, right? So good amount we spend there. And you should know, you should know that during these COVID times, just in 1 year's period, the prices of many of these ingredients, DAP, muriate of potash, they have gone up 2 to 3 times, 2 to 3 times per bag. And who has had to face this deficit? The government has had to face. People have faced as much. So when you purchase 1 bag of urea, 1 bag of these fertilizers, the price that an individual pays is 250 rupees. But the government bears a burden of around 1000 rupees per bag. So you see, around 20% price is paid by the person and 80% price is paid by the government per bag, every bag. So this is what the editorial also presents. What is the solution? It says there are 4 solutions, 4-pronged solution. The first one, it says, is having self-reliant technology. So revive all the industries which are fertilizer related. See, fertilizer industry is nothing but a forward linkage to petroleum industry. Many of the byproducts of petroleum, they come and fertilizer can be created from that. And the byproducts from this industry can later manufacture synthetic materials, synthetic goods, like, for example, fabrics, textiles. And this is what, now this is not a part of the editorial, but I will quickly tell you the complete supply chain. When the crude oil is found out, crude oil is taken out of the earth, the crude oil firstly creates petroleum, and after this petroleum, the byproduct leads to the formation of those fertilizer-like components, and this can later be, the byproducts can later be utilized for creation of these fabrics. So this is how the whole industry is laid out. And you will see a company like Reliance, why is it very successful? It is successful because it not only started with import of petroleum, they also started to refine the crude. Not only import, but refine the crude. They also went into petroleum marketing. That's a different reason why they failed in petroleum marketing, because they are government-based companies which are subsidized, right? But they also went to fabric business. So Reliance stores for fabric business. The complete supply chain they are trying to own. And this is how one should be successful in businesses, okay? So this was the first component, that is revive all the fertilizer plants in our country. The second one is NBS model for urea as well. We need to have nutrient-based subsidy for urea as well. What is the government doing, right now? The government is saying that this is the maximum price at which you will be selling to people. The industry will be selling. And if the price fluctuation is this much, government will pay this much. If the price fluctuation is this much, government will pay all the amount. If the price fluctuation is less, we will pay this much. So this amount that government is bearing is variable. Government has fixed the maximum price for urea. This should not be done. We should have a nutrient-based subsidy for urea as well, just like for all other fertilizers. So this is second. The third one is utilize biofertilizers. No, we are spending so much money, spend it on something more productive for people also. And the fourth one is use it efficiently. Use the fertilizer efficiently. Don't just spread it on the ground, right? So these are the important recommendations. Covers huge aspect of agricultural reforms, fertilizer industry. All right. So this is one. The second one is on insurance of the farmers. Insurance of the farmers. So Sam says, recently Trump accused WHO of favoring China. Yeah, WHO has been accused quite a while. Shivam says NAFTA. NAFTA. All right. This is a reference to the fertilizer industry that he's speaking of. To ensure or to assure the farmers. Here it says that many of the agriculturalists, they are from the marginal and small background. So owning less than 1 hectare, 70%, and owning less than 2 hectare, 80% of people in India, right? So huge amount of the population that India has, huge amount of it is the people who are having minimum farms, right? And the government has tried to ensure all of them through Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Now, this is where we will understand what are the important pointers of the scheme and what are the issues with the scheme. Now, one important issue with the scheme, because of which it has come to light, is that many states have withdrawn. So, when you talk of the Kharif crops, as many as there were 21 states and they have reduced down to 19. A couple of states came down, they said we will not take it. And then when you talk of Rabi season, as many as 20 states were participating, and now around only 10 of them, only half of it are participating in these kind of yojanas, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. What is the reason for this? So let us understand first what is the government trying to give here, and then the issues also. So the government here says that what we will do is that we will give you full sum insured. The complete amount will be given to you, whatever was insured. This is one thing that the government will be doing. The second one is that individual level farm assessment will be done, and even for localized calamities, smaller calamities, and post-harvest lost, those losses which are happening on the field itself, they will also be covered. Okay, very good scheme. All right, so this is second. The third one, that they will be using technology for assessment. Earlier, people would go and survey the fields. Oh, itna loss hua hai, this much loss has happened, so let us give them this amount of exemption. But now smart sensing will be done through drones, through smartphones, so it will be a faster survey, and therefore people will be able to get the remuneration quickly, right? But states have withdrawn, as I mentioned in the stats. What is the reason? See, the reason is this: the states, the people have to pay some premium. That means they have to pay some amount, right, every time. So this amount is 1.5% of the insured amount for rabi crops, 2% of the amount for kharif crops, and 5% for cash crops. See, the insurance paid is proportional to the risk also. So the risk to kharif is more, you see, right? So rain driven crops, the risk is more, right? Anyhow, the point here being, one of the issue here is area based approach. What is the issue here? In area based approach, government says that if suppose this is a farm area, it is a huge piece of area, for example a district, so they say that in this area based approach, this district will have certain level of productivity, it will have certain type of natural disasters or certain type of disasters happening here, and this is how we will treat the whole area. That means, if suppose if I'm a farmer, if I am claiming some crop insurance because of hailstorm in a smaller area, I will not get it, I will not be able to get it. Similarly, there are other issues. For example, productivity in the whole region may not be same. If there is a hilly terrain at some places, productivity will be different. If there is a waterlogged area, productivity will be different. But here we are treating the whole area together, area based approach. So this is another problem. Another problem that relates to this is about delay in settlement of claims. See, the government website, the editorial says that, website says that 96% plus claims have already been settled, but there is a huge delay on claim settlement as far as ground realities are concerned. Okay, then the other issue here is there are some states where the procurement of paddy and procurement of wheat is done very efficiently, and there is hardly any loss. So the places where there is harvest loss, there is loss of less than 10%, there this insurance will not work. It will not work. But the person will have to keep paying the premium. They will have to pay in case there are losses. So in case there are these losses, these states or places will be exempted. So there is no benefit to the farmer, right? So during these times, there is increased vulnerability of farmers, but you see, because of climate change, but you see that the participation has only decreased with time. So this is where the editorial itself gives an example of the state of Bihar, where the insurance is there by the state, right? And the insurance is only based on if the production is less than 20% of your 5-year average. If production is less than 80% or less of the 5-year average of the last 5 years, then you will be getting the insurance amount, right? What a beautiful, simple scheme. All right, the third one is WTO. So we are this is about World Trade Organizations and what are the issues that are going to crop up here. Now, just a few days back, when United Nations, the COP, Conference of Parties, it ended, COP26 ended, India did not participate and did not sign one of the treaties. One of the treaties was on methane. If you remember, we had covered 30% of reduction of methane gas by 2030 of the 2020 levels. India did not sign this. India did not sign another agreement related to this on land degradation. You know why? Land degradation. India said that you are relating this treaty to trade also. Trade. You might bar trade for me in case I falter here. So I will not be signing this treaty. All the trade related issues will be covered in World Trade Organization, right? Now, this is why India did not sign. But you see, there is a complete, background being created for WTO in ministerial, which will be held very soon. So, in WTO ministerial, the advanced countries, 57 of these countries, Japan, USA, other countries, they have started to draft one environmentally sustainable trade. Environmentally sustainable trade. WTO, when it was formed in the year 1995, they also had a clause for making the trade sustainable, making it environmental friendly. All right. So because of this, these mentions of the charter in WTO, the idea here of these countries is that we will try to ensure that only those kind of trading activities are encouraged which are environmental friendly. Now, the developing countries which are still reeling under the burden of climate change, and they are still going through conventional mode of production where they are using conventional fuel, so those countries are not happy, because what these advanced countries will do is they will impose some kind of taxation, certain kind of tariff barrier or a non-tariff barrier, which will say that we will tax those products which are coming from places which are environmentally not sustainable, or these products themselves are environmentally not sustainable. And yes, that is true. The countries, we have these countries, European Union is going to impose a carbon border adjustment mechanism, CBAM, and USA is also going to impose carbon tax. They're already talking of imposing these taxes. You know what are these? These are protectionist measures. They will tax Indian products, Chinese products when they come to their country, but they will not tax their own product proportionally. So this is what developing countries are opposing, and this is a protectionist trade measure, right? So you know why this is also philosophically against the developing, in favor of developing countries? It is because UNFCCC has says that all the countries have common but differentiated responsibilities. They have differentiated responsibilities. You cannot tax the developing countries right now. They are not in a position to get taxed. Okay, so this is what the editorial presents: world politics, and very important pointers. See, they will help you to understand what is the theme of world politics these days: developing versus developed. We have studied many of these pointers, right? So we have studied fisheries, we have understood intellectual property, we have also understood today the issue of world trade, right, and environment debate, right? So this is what we have studied today. Let me quickly make you understand the one important thing that you had asked me before we get on to the case study. So you had asked me a good question yesterday, that was on what is the difference between permaculture and organic cultivation on the other hand. See, as I had told you, the word permaculture is permanent culture, cultivation of anything. It could be agriculture, it could be human habits, it could be anything. So these are more sustainable forms of cultivation. These are closer to the nature. These are closer to the whole balance of closed cycle approach. That means they are looking at the integration of the whole system. They will put the consumer of food, in case we are talking of agriculture, permanent agriculture, they will put the consumer, that is us, very close to the production system. They will also try to integrate in a way that if I am getting the food for myself, the leftover of the food is sent back to the same land so that nutrition is not lost. This is permaculture. On the other hand, we talk of organic cultivation. In organic cultivation, we are using those kind of inputs which are not chemical. That is all. We are using carbon based. We are trying to use those cycles which are natural, but they may not be as sustainable as permaculture. We are using those natural cycles. We are using organic farming techniques. For example, inputs which are organic in nature. For example, ash. We will be using ash, but ash is not found in this area. We are importing it from some other place, and then we are using it. This might increase the productivity of this cultivation, but this is not as natural as permaculture. This is a far more closed system and far more natural, where we are placing the consumers and the producers close to each other. Here, we don't have those liability. All we need to do is not have artificial means of cultivation. For example, using fertilizers, chemical-based fertilizers, for example, using pesticides or herbicides, chemical-based pesticides or herbicides. We'll be using only natural forms in organic ones, right? So this is the basic difference, and thank you for asking this question, because this has cleared doubt for many of us. The main goal is same, but the the process is a little different for both of them. Okay, So hope you have understood the difference. Case study of the day, we will quickly understand and move ahead, is on the man who has served its time in jail but yet came out of it and started to help the destitute people. So when we talk of Thomas Raja, right, this man has had a habit of stealing. He also stole from his family, and later he was jailed. He was served a term as the prisoner, and when he came out of the jail, he realized that a lot of people are destitute, they are homeless, they are just surviving somewhere on the streets. And that is when he rented a place, an accommodation, and after that he started to serve people, and he has started to serve not only few but thousands people, and change their life. So destitute people have finally got homes, and he called this home as home of hope, right? And he has helped as many as 19,000 persons here. Now you have the same scope, not that of going to jail, but the scope of serving thousands and thousands and lakhs of people, right? And that will happen only when you are able to show the discipline, the grit all through the process, and that is a very tough one, right? So I commend you to of your participation here, and this is an amazing participation. I respect your participation here, I acknowledge it, but repeating every time, every day, in and out, that you got to be preparing notes every day. Spend 15 minutes more, just jot down whatever you understood, important pointers out of it, so that you're able to revise it. After the end of the month, I will want you to revise this, and I will present in some of the other day. We will have some special time, we will revise all the content. Revision will not mean that I will present you point by point, but I will just ask you if you know this or not. If you don't know it, then you are at you are liable for this, because you spend time but you did not note it. And I will, there will be mechanisms we will ensure that you go ahead and understand these things, right? So if you like this initiative, do share some love on us. These likes are very valuable for us, all of us, because the whole organization is supporting this initiative. Edukemy is supporting it, and we want you to be regular participants. Like, share, subscribe to this channel, so that we are able to produce a lot of more such beautiful videos. You will not be going anywhere. We will see you quickly in the featured news segment, where we will discuss a very important report on the process, right? So a featured news on which we will understand a complete question in its totality, all right? So Shivam, thank you. Thank you, Preeti. We will quickly, in 2 minutes time, see you in the featured news video as well, right? Thank you all for watching and being a part. All right, Amlan says, government should watch this video to know how to make good policy for farmers. They know it. They know it through and through. They know more than us. Sir, what is the negative effect of not signing a UN treaty? UN sanctions, maximum to maximum, but many of the treaties are based on participation, no? For example, there are bodies like United Nations, bodies where there is consensus-based treaty. So you don't sign it, it's fine. It will not get approved of. So there is no such issue regarding, there are actually many repercussions. It can depend on what kind of treaty it is, right? So yeah. All right. Panchanan, thank you very much. Ashish, thank you. Thank you, Shaheen. I urge you to like this initiative so that we are able to spread the word through this. Thank you very much for being a part.